Welcome everybody to the stream. Sorry, I'm scrambling a bit. Okay. How's everyone doing? I am not as prepared for this as I wish I was. Alright, so we're going to be loading up some Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. I'm going to check the stream real quick, make sure that you can hear me just fine and dandy and all that. You should be able to. I can see the volume levels, but I want to check. That you can hear me just fine and dandy and all that. Yep, you sure can. You should be able. Alright. I have the chat up on my tablet, as always, so feel free to talk to me. I'll have it right here. Now, let me have it closer to my peripheral vision. Put it on this little table I got right here. Alright, let's load up Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. Sorry that it's taking me so long to get back into streaming. I've been in a little bit of a funk. And also I've been replanning a couple of things. You can see I have new assets that are still technically in flux. I'm not sure if I'm going to be sticking with how it looks. But yeah, the plan with that is that I'm going to be, instead of it just being Colorwind streams, I'm going to be associating these live streams with shows that I already have on YouTube, because essentially they're the same thing except live. Colorwind streams as a brand is, I guess you could say, on hiatus, because I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. But as you can see, yeah, this is technically a Colorwind Plays Live thing, which is basically just my Colorwind Plays show, except live. Alright, let's hop into some Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. We're going to start offline, go into arcade mode. And I am not going to be going in chronological order here, because I kind of want to play the games that I have memories of, which is almost all of these. Almost. The exception is probably the first one. Otherwise, yeah, I do have at least some memories with all of these. But first I want to get to the very first game in the series I played, which was the original. Although it was not the arcade version. I've actually never played the true experience on the arcade, which is to say, I've never seen the cabinet. I've never seen a Street Fighter 2 World Warrior cabinet. But this is the first Street Fighter I played, because I did play this on the Super Nintendo, which isn't exactly the same, but it's close enough. Let's go with Blanca. During this stream, I'm just going to be checking out each of the games and talking about some of my experiences with them. I'm not going to be completing any of this. Not going to go through arcade mode. I'll just be doing some fights, kind of like I'm doing right now. So this is the first Street Fighter I played, the Super Nintendo version, though. Oh my god, Dulcie, please. And I played it, I believe, at a cousin's house of mine. They had the Super Nintendo version, and I actually used to really enjoy playing it with them, and they would always kick my ass, because they were much better at me at that time. I don't know now. Probably, I kept playing, so I guess maybe I'm better now, but I don't know. It was at that time that I remember playing with Ryu a whole lot, and just really enjoying the kind of stoic, the very stoic, hard-edged, very focused kind of personality that he had, at least the way that the game depicted him. And also because that's how I ended up learning how to play the game. A lot of people seem to think that characters like Ryu, whoever the Ryu is in that fighting game, is kind of boring. And I can see where they're coming from, but characters like Ryu, in this case actually, Ryu, are meant to be very simple characters for you to be able to pick up and play as. And the reason for that is so that you learn how to play the game. And that's exactly how it happened with me. I picked up Ryu, and that's how I learned how to play these games, and that's how I learned how to play a variety of fighting games. Because, no, Chun-Li. That's what they do, and especially since Street Fighter is kind of the blueprint that all fighting games are more or less based around. By learning how to play this game with Ryu, I also essentially learned how to play most other fighting games, and it's one of the reasons why I'm able to jump to and from fighting games and be able to just have a good idea of what to do and how the game will work. I don't learn everything that way, obviously, but it's still a way to just have like a good baseline. What the hell? Why did I do that? What the hell? Blanca in a slow ass freaking roll. No, that kind of worked. So yeah, I just remember this game for just teaching me how to play fighting games. Now I will say one thing: it is kind of hard to come back to this one because of how slow it is, and also it's busted as shit. Like, there's things like when Blanca does his roll. Jesus, see, that's a good example. When Blanca does his roll, if you counterattack it, he will take double the damage he normally would. And they did that because they thought it was such a good move that it's not going to be a good idea for... It was such a good move they thought that was the only way to balance it. See, Jesus Christ. They thought, okay, well, if they manage to counter it, it'll be double power. It'll be double the damage. And that was the way of balancing it. And that was the bad way of doing that. Let's see, let's look at other places. I don't know how to do the glitch with Guile, the infamous handcuffs glitch. But I also know that he was like really, really good in this game. Now I can't do that because I'm not a charge character kind of player. But I know how to use them fairly decently enough. I know all his special moves, and I know that you're supposed to be defensive and then use his command normals to get in. But then again, his normals are weird because see, look, like. That's just his normal medium. It's not like left or right and the medium kick. Ah. Guile's jab was still freaking good. But I guess in terms of memories with this game, that's about it. So I guess I'll just move on from now. Now, in terms of the arcade, this is the first Street Fighter I actually played in the arcades, which was the first update, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, or Street Fighter 2 Dash Champion Edition. That little asterisk, not asterisk, but fuck, what is it called? I should know this. Apostrophe. There we go. The apostrophe. That is right next to the 2. When you pronounce it in Japan, it's pronounced dash. I'm just doing this. Look, the big thing about this version of the game is that they allowed you to play the boss characters from the previous version. And they did things to try to make them more fair. They failed. Let's put it that way. Bison in particular is fuck broken in this game. He is so good that I believe when people were playing this in tournaments, he was just flat out banned. They're like, he's too good. He is way too overpowered. We're just not doing this. And I mean, I feel like that kind of makes sense because M. Bison was, you know, the final boss of the game. But they were supposed to balance them, and they just didn't. For myself personally, I already knew about Street Fighter because I had played on the Super Nintendo, and I believe I had a Super Nintendo already at that point. And I had Street Fighter 2. But I can't say for that for sure, but what I do know is that this is the first Street Fighter I remember seeing in the arcades. Specifically, not an arcade though. There was a burger joint near where I used to live called Celebrity Burger. And that place, you have to remember, this was the early 90s, so arcades were everywhere, including just inside of burger places. And this was like a normal kind of like a, Jesus, Ryu. I always have difficulties with Ryu. Stop that. In this burger place, if you went inside to go and eat, which people usually didn't do as often, or at least I didn't, because they had a drive-through. Why would you? They had one arcade machine in there, and it was Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. And I remember going there, and you know, when we go in there and get some food, sometimes I'd be like, "Can I have a couple quarters so I can play this?" And that's how much it cost too. People forget that arcades were like a quarter. Oh my God, Ryu, stop! But yeah, I used to go in there. I used to play this all the time, and I'd be like, "It's so cool! You get to play all the other characters." And then at this point, I was late to the game, so I believe I was playing Champion Edition, but I believe Turbo had already come out, which was the next one after this, or Hyper Fighting, technically. But it was around this time that I had a Sega Genesis. Or, no, I didn't have a Sega Genesis. I believe it was one of my other cousins. I remember I had one cousin who had a Super Nintendo and another cousin who had a Sega Genesis. And then I would kind of fluctuate between the two. How I did that? Go into East LA, go to a pawn shop and trade everything in. Damn, Honda. But around this time is when Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition came out. And everyone thought that it was this new special, or rather it was a port of Champion Edition. And that was bad for some people, because around the same time on the Super Nintendo, the Super Nintendo got Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And people thought, oh, well, that's the one after Champion Edition. So Sega Genesis got screwed because they only got the Champion Edition, whereas the Super Nintendo got the newer one. And that's how it actually was going to be. Capcom was porting Champion Edition to the Genesis, and then was just going to port Hyper Fighting to the Super Nintendo. But that's not actually what ended up happening. Sega demanded that Capcom put the extra features from Turbo into their version, and that's why it's called Special Championship Edition. It's not a direct port of Champion Edition. It's actually an amalgamation of Champion Edition and Turbo. If you play that game and you look in the menu, they have Normal and Turbo. That's exactly what that is. Normal is Champion Edition, or I think they might have called it just a Champion mode. I'm not sure. It's either Normal or Champion or something like that in the Genesis. If you pick that one, it's Champion Edition. That's what it is. If you pick Turbo, and you can adjust the stars to make it go as fast as you want, that would give you Hyper Fighting. It's literally both versions of Street Fighter in that game. And they have the differences as well. Such as Ryu's Hurricane Kick Up in the air. You can do that in Turbo mode, but you can't do that in Normal/Champion mode. So a lot of people don't realize that you got both of them in the Genesis version. Simultaneously, people don't seem to realize that you got both of them in the Super Nintendo game too, in Street Fighter 2 Turbo. because that mode also had a turbo mode and a normal mode. And once again, the normal mode is just Champion Edition. So really the only difference between the two is the name. And I guess there's some graphical differences as well, which is another point of contention for some people, because the Super Nintendo game Street Fighter 2 Turbo took some liberties with some of the graphics and some of the text, and Jesus Christ, Blanca is going freaking in. Hang on a minute. Oh my god, he beat my Psycho Crusher. Okay, well anyway, there are some graphical differences between the two games on consoles, where the Sega Genesis version, although it was graphically inferior to the Super Nintendo version, has more accurate graphics. Like, it looks more like the arcade version, albeit a weaker one. Jesus Christ, Blanca. Oh, fuck you, video game. Come on. Hang on a minute. No, I win that because I'm broken as shit. There we go. Okay. So yeah, the graphics in the Genesis version are more accurate to the arcade than the Super Nintendo version is, and that's on purpose. The Nintendo version specifically decided to change things so that it would look better on the Super Nintendo with its weaker, processing power, but taking advantage of some of the things that it was able to do. So it's a more adaptive port, whereas the Genesis was going for being more accurate. So it's a matter of adaptive versus accurate. So it depends on what you want. Also, the controls on the Sega Genesis version are better or worse depending on what controller you had. If you had a 3-button controller, you were screwed pressing the start button to get certain attacks. Whereas if you had the 6-button controller, it was way better because all the buttons were laid out in front of you and it's much more easier to do things. Guile shook himself out of that so quickly. Oh god. God damn you, Guile. But yeah, that's some trivia for you for there. And my memories essentially were playing this version of the game in this arcade at my local burger joint. By the way, still delicious burgers from over there. Haven't been there in a long time because I don't live there anymore, but I would love to go back. And one thing that's nice is there is a place where I live right now that has a burger joint similar to it. Damn. Freaking Guile. Getting his revenge on M. Bison. I think that's a good place to stop here. I've already been talking about the next version, so I think we should do that one next. To do things a little differently, though, because I don't have a whole lot of memories with this version. Actually, yeah. Let's because it's gonna get a little samey, just doing this over and over again. This is a good time to hop over to online mode because 30th Anniversary has online mode for 4 different games, and one of them is Hyper Fighting. And I forgot that there was an update to this version. That's right. It's online arcade. We just want. Actually, you know what? I've never done online arcade. Let's try this out. We'll do that. Let's see what happens. Since we're gonna be playing online, I gotta stick with Ryu. My man. This game, Hyper Fighting, is probably my favorite of the Street Fighter 2s. I like it more than Super Turbo, which we haven't gotten to yet, but I will. To me, it just plays the best. I think it's the most fun. It has the best speed. It doesn't have crazy difficulty the way that Super Turbo has, which I'll get to in a moment. And I think this is the one to beat. And there's people I know feel similar to me, similar in the way that I feel. Even though there's the most beloved of the Street Fighter 2s is typically Super Turbo, but there are a decent amount of people who like this one more. This one I don't have. I mean, like, I have a lot of memories of playing this with friends and just trying to be better. Oh my god! So that looks interesting. Oh god, how's it gonna control? Oh no, frame rate. No, wait, not frame rate, excuse me, lag. A little bit of lag. Eh? Don't do that, Ken. But anyway, yeah, I don't have a lot of specific memories, just because here's the thing. This was the most popular Street Fighter where I was. There wasn't like, I played this at the one burger joint that had it. It was, there were multiple arcade machines at different places. Like, there were 2 different arcades around me that had this cabinet. There was Shakey's Pizza that had it as well. There was another pizza place, which I cannot remember the name of to save my life, but they had it also. Like, it was everywhere. This was by far the most popular of the Street Fighters in my area. It might be also why I like it so much, because I was able to play this version everywhere. My cousins that had the original Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, they also got a copy of this, so I was playing that with them. I had a copy of this game on my Super Nintendo, so I was playing it there. We had arcade at all the places that I was talking about right now. This game was all over the place. So it's just a lot of fun. And I won. Yay. Even with the lag, which there is plenty of. Even the game is stuttering a little bit. Don't do that. I remember earlier this past month I was well, I guess last month now, because we just got into July. I was watching streams of James Chen, commentator for the FGC, and he's going through all the different games and everything. He was mentioning how he feels this is the most balanced of all the Street Fighter 2s. And you know, not that I would have known that back then. You know, I was young when I was playing these games. I was like 7 or 8. So I wouldn't have known about that kind of stuff yet. But I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I like this so much, because it was just everyone was fun to play as. I learned how to play as all these characters, and while I still had my main, you know, which is Ryu, I could still have a good time with everyone else. And as a matter of fact, that's what we would often do. Most of the time, we wouldn't stick to the people that were just our mains. We would go through the roster and just like try to pick different characters and see how we would do. Now, maybe at the end, me and my friends would be like, okay, well, I'm going to stick to this character, my main, or maybe just a couple of others if I was just having fun with them. But yeah, it always started off with us going through the roster first. Yeah. Game still feels good, even with lag, because this game is laggy. Returning back to the arcade. It feels like a wasted opportunity to not have. Here comes a new challenger to come in. Like, why would you not do that? Ryu, what are you doing? Whoa, what the? Ryu snapped out of it. Alright. So yeah, this game is just... It's just a whole lot of fun. And even right now, playing it on, you know, a more modern console with the PS4 controller, it still feels good. Ha! Ow. Ow. Jesus, already? I was just dizzied. And this Ryu. Damn it. Let's do something dumb. Let's go Bison. Fun fact about Bison, I believe in this version he got nerfed so badly that now he's actually like one of the worst characters in the game. This is intense. Fuck, he beat my Psycho Crusher. Oh. Oh. Almost got it perfect. Oh, blocked sun. There we go. Okay, I'm not really talking about my experiences now. Now I'm just playing this game. This guy is good. Or I'm not playing my main. One or the other. Why'd I do that? Ah, his beat mine. Why do I do that? It just use medium. And it's over. Okay. Whew. He's going to want a rematch. Let's do it. Let's see. Anything else I can say about this game? Oh, Blanca is fucking dirty in this game. Because he has a new move where he goes vertical up in the air. But the thing is, though, is that he also comes down vertically. Okay, block. That did, like, no damage. Why? Damn. I always got to be charging with Blanca. Especially against Ihana, because now I'm just going to land on him. Oops. Damn it. I know you want to do it. Damn it! It didn't give me the damage. Good shit. Good shit. Okay, after this guy, we're going to be moving on to the next game. Zangief, I guess? Ooh, can. Okay. Why am I still in the bathhouse? Damn. He's good. He's good. After this, I might have to pull out Ryu. Because I'm just screwing around right now. Alright, come on. Oh my god, Zangief, you bastard. Oh my god, freaking game. I cannot get my spinning pile driver to save my life. There we go. Let me see. It's 2 against 1, right? Yeah, rematch limit. Okay, yeah, that'll return me back to the arcade, which means I can switch. Okay. Next game for me to talk about is Super Street Fighter 2. Okay. This intro is still one of the coolest fucking intros I've ever seen in my life. The pathos behind it is what does it. Even later Street Fighter games don't have as good an intro as this. It's just a Hadouken, but it's so fucking cool. They need to recreate that with like new graphics. It's so good. I played this game a lot on the Super Nintendo. I got that version. But as for the cabinet, there was a... Let's see, who am I going to play with this? I should probably pick one of the new characters. Let's go with T-Hawk. There was a comic book shop I remember that I used to go to occasionally that was like right by a train track. I remember thinking sometimes like, why is it so close to the train? Can I get it, please? Okay, come on, game. Seriously, are you fucking kidding me right now? What the fuck, game? There we go. Jesus! I'm gonna lose this because the game did not want to listen to me. But yeah, there was a comic book shop near where I used to live. I can't believe. Okay. and they had a copy of this cabinet of this game. And I used to go over there sometimes to look at comic books, but mostly to play that version of the game in the arcades. And one thing that I think is really interesting is at one point they modded it so that they had the special tournament battle version of this game. Now let's go to Fei Long. And I remember seeing this and I'm like, what is this? Because there was like, you know, like multiple monitors and multiple arcade setups. It was very bizarre to me. And I played it a good amount there, but I remember playing it more at home. And the reason why is because the home version plays better, I think, than the arcade. The reason being is because they gave a feature in the home versions where you can speed it up. In case you haven't noticed, this version of the game is slow, sort of like Champion Edition was. Oh god. Okay, that worked. And the reason for that being was this game was being developed by the same people who developed Champion Edition, whereas Turbo was developed by the American company of Capcom, the American version of Capcom, the division, I guess you could say. And I cannot pull that off right now. Not doing Reckless too well. Ah! At the time, I remember thinking, "Oh, they finally made a sequel." But looking back, I'm like, oh, this isn't a sequel at all. And it really wasn't. It was just yet another update. A more substantial update than any of the other games had been, but an update nonetheless. The other two games could be seen as patches. This game could be seen as an expansion pack. Maybe that's one way of looking at it. The home versions of this game, which is the one I played more of, was I feel better than the arcade version, and as a result, unlike a lot of people who play this game, I have a much better opinion of this game than I think a lot of people do. There's a lot of people who do not like this version of Street Fighter 2 at all, and I think it's because it made it so much slower, and it broke a whole bunch of stuff too, because this game is more unbalanced than Hyper Fighting is. So with all these new features and everything, at the same time, it kind of felt like a step backwards as well. And the home version felt more like an improvement. And since that's the version I remember the most, that's why I think a little highly of it. Now, having said that, I'm playing this right now, and this is the arcade version, and yeah, it feels kind of sluggish. But I don't know, man. There's something about this, especially like the way that this character is designed, like Fei Long. Something like this is I find to be super cool. And it's probably just nostalgia talking. At the end of the day, if I want to play Street Fighter a lot, I'm probably going to go back to Hyper Fighting. But I respect what this did. And I don't think we're going to spend a whole lot of time on here, because that's sort of just my memories with it, and there's not much else for me to say. One quick thing I will say, though, is the Sega Genesis version of this game, for some inexplicable reason, got online play when it was ported over to the Nintendo Wii. Now, I should also mention that the Super Nintendo version was also ported on there. That one does not have online. I do not know why. I don't know who decided to do that. But here's a big one right here. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I'm going to do something real quick to show you one of the main reasons why I'm not crazy about this game. Well, I like the game. But in terms of its arcade version, there's a reason why I don't really think highly of it. First, let the intro rock, which is super cool too. I don't know why Kami stuck her tongue out of me, but I still prefer the Super Street Fighter 2 intro to Super Turbos, because the other stuff seems a bit superfluous to me. The reason why I don't like this version as much, and we'll do this version of Ryu. Remember, Ryu is my main. Going up against Fei Long. By the way, as you can see, the game is faster again now. I'm sure you haven't been able to notice it yet, but don't worry, you will. Maybe you're starting to see it now. Reminder, this is the first stage. First battle, however you want to pronounce and say it. Okay, well, you didn't see it there, but I'll just tell you. For whatever reason, unless they patched it, because I just remember that there was a patch for this game that I forgot about. Unless they patched it, the initial version of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is stupid hard. Like, it's broken. The AI input reads everything you do like a mother. And even when you bring the difficulty down in the options menu, which there is an options menu. Actually, you know what? Let me show you that real quick. I don't care about my progress here. Go to options. This difficulty has been at 1 this whole entire time. I brought it down there normally because normally it's at 4 and it's just ungodly. And trying to do it at 8 means just knowing how to, like, break the computer. Like, never do that. Also, the speed is here. Normally it was in the game, which I am not a fan of. But, yeah, the original version of this game is fuck broken. And as a result, I remember not enjoying myself when I was playing it in the arcades. Though one time I did. And that's another thing I'm going to bring up. This is about the last time I played a Street Fighter game in the arcades. There was a very popular arcade that I used to go to when I was younger, and it finally got a Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo cabinet. I remember going there, and I was able to play it, I think, once, and then that was it. That cabinet was so busy, I was never able to play it again, and it didn't last that long, because around 1995... all the arcades in my hometown started going out. They started going out of business. They started shutting down. Arcade cabinets that were in other businesses like pizza places or the burger place I talked about before, got rid of them. And like in 1995, a purge of arcade cabinets was happening in this town that I was in, and I don't know why. So I guess if I'm going to be showing off this game, really the way I'm going to have to do it is just through online. Which is, I feel like, where this game shines, either this or Versus, because there's not much you can do otherwise. This game is kind of it's sort of like a blank spot for me. And I know that this game has a lot of fans, and I respect that. But at least this version, the arcade version, where the AI has not been tweaked at all, this game does not sit well with me. And it's because arcade mode is mostly how I play this game. I talked about how I play with friends before, but that does not happen a lot for me when I was younger and now. So, you're green. Didn't give it to me. DJ Turbo 2, I didn't notice that. Jesus, this guy is way better than me. freaking cross up, man. Damn, I could not do anything to him. He literally got a perfect on me. Everything I tried to do, he was just slightly far away from me. Let's see. I guess I don't really have anything else to say. Yeah, no, it's what happened there. I don't really have anything else to say about Super Turbo. It's a game that I'm really not that familiar with. I guess in respects to that, and we should also get to this. This game came out when I was born, so I did not play a lot of this. I have played this though. I specifically went out searching for this game, I would say about 13 years ago. And that was the height of when I had learned about emulation. I was already in, I'd finished high school, it was going into college, and just found, I think, an emulator, or, no, you know what it was? There was a hobby store near where I live, and they had, like, billiards and stuff like that there, but they also had, they were trying to sell a MAME arcade. And someone just took a computer, put MAME on there, stuck a bunch of games on there, and then housed it inside of an arcade cabinet. So, I mean, that's how I first started playing this. And I'm going to tell you something right now. This game is trash. Inputs do not want to come out. Come on, Hadouken. Or Shoryuken, sure, that works too. It's nice when they come out though, because when they hit, they do like a third of health. And there's even a glitch with the Shoryuken where you can hit them 3 times, meaning that a Shoryuken can essentially be a one-hit kill. Got the Tatsu. Normally I can't do that. See, look, I got him with that and it did so much freaking damage. And he's dead. Yeah, not great. Not a great game. I'm already done with it. Now I guess we'll get into the alphas. Right off the bat, I'm just gonna say this right now. I love the Street Fighter Alpha games. They are my favorite sub-series in the Street Fighter series. I don't know how to say that. But essentially what I'm getting at is, except for Hyper Fighting and Third Strike, the Street Fighter Alpha games I feel are the best games in the franchise. This was a true sequel, even though it was a prequel. And it had a whole new characters, new models, new fighting mechanics. It was just all new and it was all great. I'll just go with Ryu. New stages, just everything was new. They finally made a brand new Street Fighter game. And it had, I did it a little bit right there, but it had the link system, which was super fun to do. The game seems to just play better. It feels more fluid. They expanded the super combo system. Super move, if you will. There's certain things about it that feel a little old compared to more recent Street Fighter games. But I feel like this was the first time that like care and attention was put to not just the gameplay, although a lot of attention was put into the gameplay. Do not misunderstand me. But I feel like this is also the time where they started getting into the lore of Street Fighter. Like the story became much more important now. That really helped it, I think, kind of escalated to the next level. So this was the first Street Fighter I never played in arcades. From here on out, I have never played any of these games in arcades. However, at this point, I was also playing versions of this game that were essentially arcade perfect, or at least very close to being. I have been able to play both this game on the PlayStation as well as the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn version is better, although the PlayStation version is more than fine. The only thing about that version of the game is that the load times are bad. Otherwise, I mean, it feels fun. It feels like the exact same thing. I think it's only missing a few frames of animation in the PlayStation version. Same thing with the Sega Saturn, although it's even less so. And they came up with some like interesting characters, like Sodom here. I don't know why they decided to bring him from Final Fight. Why him of all other people? Not Cody. They ended up doing that later, but not at this point. And then we got to see some of the other characters from the original Street Fighter come back. For example, Adon. Birdie as well, although now he's black. Birdie, in case you didn't know, was white before. He was always European. He was always British, but in the original game, he was white. So, awkward. Introduced Rose. I love Rose as a character. I think as, I believe, the third female character in the Street Fighter series. She's really interesting. Let me see. I believe Chun-Li was first. Cammy second. Rose, I believe, is third. I love her kind of like mystic kind of vibe that she's got. I'm just playing the game right now. And there we go. Yeah, this game is just a lot of fun. I feel like this game doesn't get as much love as it deserves. And part of the reason why is because Capcom decided, let's just nix this game entirely and redo it. And that's essentially what Street Fighter Alpha 2 is. It's the same story, except redone. They added more characters. And they took out the link system, which I don't really like, but they also put in the custom combo system, so that's supposed to be like its replacement, which, fine. Whatever. And here's the thing about this game. When it came out, I remember thinking, ugh, not this again. They are just taking the same game and remaking it again and again and again and again and again. And I don't want to deal with that anymore. So I did not play a lot of this game when it first came out. I did eventually play it on the PlayStation, but I remember just kind of passing over this one, not really wanting to bother. That was a mistake because this game is super fun. But I also at the same time remember how I felt back then, and I know why I felt the way I did. And it was something that Capcom had to learn at the time, which is you can't just keep iterating on the same game over and over again with fighting games. You're just going to piss people off. I cannot get this flash kick. But it's really a lot of fun. This is the game where I finally learned how to play a charge character. Charlie, I love Charlie. He's a lot of fun. And he actually retroactively taught me how to play as Guile. Although to this day I like Charlie more than Guile for the reason that I learned how to play with him first. Even though he's not that much different, he is a bit different. You know, Charlie and Guile are not the same character. But yeah, they're very similar, and I just prefer Charlie more. In terms of personal memories, I did play this on the PlayStation. I remember getting the Street Fighter collection for the PlayStation 1. And that was arguably the first time I played, like, extensively Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Which I probably should have mentioned while I was playing Super Turbo, but I remember at the time playing that game and enjoying it, but at the same time it also felt kind of old. And I think the reason why is because at that time I was playing a lot of Street Fighter EX plus Alpha for the PlayStation. The EX games, by the way, are not in this collection, and I wish they were, but I also know why they're not, because Capcom would have to work with Acura, and they don't want to do that because of reasons. One bad thing with Charlie is I'm not good at doing his supers. But anyway, what I was getting at is with the Street Fighter collection, in addition to having Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, they also had a weird version of Street Fighter Alpha 2 called Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold. And essentially the only difference was they took out there was some sort of game mechanic that they took out. I cannot remember what it was now. But one thing I do remember is that it also added Cammy as a playable character. And she wasn't quite the same. She was now in her story-driven Killer Bee outfit. Which was the outfit that she used to wear when she was a pawn of Bison's. And I believe it was just a character model used in the Versus series, which at that time I think was only at X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I don't know if Marvel Superheroes have come out yet. Marvel vs. Capcom 1 definitely had not come out yet. Oh my god, Charlie. I keep trying to do my super and he just refuses to do it. Oh my god, it came out. Anyway, yeah, I had that collection and I played Street Fighter Alpha 2 a bit on that. I think before I started messing around with emulators, that was actually the #1 way I was playing this game. Which is weird. Because it's the version not a lot of people know about. So there you go. We'll do one more fight and then I'll move on. Ow. Ah, Jesus. Kuma going ham on me. Heh. Oh god! He demoned me! What a bastard! He did it right next to me. There was nothing I could have done. Oh well. Moving on. Now, technically, chronologically, the next game is actually Street Fighter 3 Next Generation, followed by Second Impact, and then it goes back to Alpha 3, and then finally Third Strike. But just since we're sticking with, like, series, I'm going to go to Street Fighter Alpha 3 right now. Okay. Like I said, the Alpha series is my favorite series within the Street Fighter series. Alpha 3 is my favorite of that series. And more importantly, this is my favorite Street Fighter game. Period. Out of any of them. Now, I cut my teeth on the PlayStation version, and I did everything in that game. I went through World Tour mode and got all the hidden characters. I leveled up my characters to max level. I did no lose runs, whatever the hell you want to call it. This was my go-to game. I adore this game so freaking much. Arguably the best version of this game, I guess, is the Dreamcast version, but I think a case could be made for, oh god, for the PSP version, because it has more characters and it has everything that all the other versions didn't have. And as a result, this is arguably the weakest one. The arcade version actually is missing a whole lot because they took this game and added so much to it. My understanding is, and I could be wrong about this, but I think this is the second best selling Street Fighter after Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. That shipped like 5 million or 6 million, something crazy like that. And I believe this one shipped like 3 million. I might be wrong about that, but I do know for sure that this is one of the more successful Street Fighter games. The only other ones that come to mind that could be more successful are 4. Yeah, some iteration of 4. Because I know that none of the other Street Fighter 2 games did as well, like any of the iterations. 3 was never a success, and even though people really like Alpha 2, I know that Alpha 2 didn't sell even as good as Alpha 1. Out of the Alpha games, it actually sold the least amount. And the reason why is because of what I just was talking about before, where they just kept making the same game over and over again and doing updates, which I appreciate as a fan of these games, but most people are not. They're just going to want a brand new game. And this finally gave them a brand new game. There were so many things in this game that are different. Different characters, different stages, different mechanics. Crap. That was supposed to be Hadouken. New guard meter. There's so much new with this game. Oop. Oh god. Stop that. I remember going after M. Bison at the end, and then he has that giant Cycle Crusher that take you out in one hit, practically. It does so much damn damage, and you're like, how am I supposed to do something about that? Little do you know that he has a huge tail that I remember learning, and I still remember to this day. Before he does the huge, crazy Cycle Crusher, he always does an empty Devil Reverse. So that move where he jumps up and then comes back down and does like a punch attack. He will do that move nowhere near you. Like, it's not anywhere near you. So normally you would be like, why are you doing that? But that's him charging up for his freaking Cycle Crusher. Chipped him out. I have spent so much time on this game. Let's see. Let's get out of here and let's do some online. I don't think I've done online for Alpha 3 yet at all. So let's see how this goes. It might go very badly. We'll go with casual for now. Is there nobody playing Alpha 3 or what? Well, crap. I guess we're not going to play online then. Maybe that's why I haven't done it yet. Actually, I think I have. Now that I think about it, I think I did pop in real quick and try it out. Well, that's Alpha 3. It's the best one in the series. One of these days, I'm going to do like a full video of some kind on Alpha 3. Maybe a review, maybe a let's play. I'm not sure yet, but I got to do something for this game because I enjoyed it very much. It might be this version. It might be the PlayStation version, which I still own. We'll see. I guess we'll move on to Street Fighter 3, new generation. I'm going to be honest with you. When I heard about this collection coming out, this game was actually the one I was the most excited for in the collection. And the reason why is because out of all these games on this collection, this one and Second Impact are the hardest ones to get. This game has been ported before this collection. This game was ported to the Dreamcast, and that's it. There is an arcade version, and there is a Dreamcast version. That is it. It is the least ported out of any of these games here. If you wanted to play this game, you either find an arcade cabinet, or you get the Dreamcast version, or you emulate it. But those were your options. That was it. So this is the most rare of all these games. Even Street Fighter 1 was ported several times to other consoles, and you can get to that. Even more recently, there was a port of Street Fighter 1, the TurboGrafx 16 version on the Wii, and even there was even a port of the arcade version on the PS2 and Xbox One. So this is the most rare game in this collection, aside from Second Impact, which is just as equally as rare. And I really like this game because it has Alex, who is the first, I think, grappler I've ever really enjoyed. I've grown to appreciate Zangief for what he is, but yeah, this is, if I'm going to play a grapple character in Street Fighter, this is probably what I'm going to go for. Oh, right in front of her freaking face. Bonk. The big thing with this series of games, all the Street Fighter 3s, is these games have crazy amounts of animation to them. All these characters have so many frames of animation. It's quite frankly unneeded, but as a result, it makes the game like flow beautifully. The one thing though that's strange, and this doesn't really exist in Third Strike, which is the final version of this game, which we'll get to, is the way, the art style that this game has, the levels, the theme, the way that they do everything. It has sort of like this weird 90s cartoon aesthetic that kind of feels old, like even for its time. Like when this game came out in 1997, I think even people were like, why does this look like this? And that was telling, because Street Fighter 3 New Generation was not successful. And all the characters in these games are weird, and there's only Ryu and Ken in this game out of the 10 characters. Those were the only returning characters. There wasn't even any Chun-Li, at least initially. So see, look at this and you'll be like, oh, what the hell is this? It looks so freaking weird. And it's got kind of like this comic booky, almost kind of aesthetic. I don't know. It's strange, and I think that's what put people off of this series. I myself, even though I know that it's not like the best game, I really enjoy how this game plays. I like the dashing. This was the game that introduced dashing into Street Fighter. This is the game. Oh, damn it. This is the game that introduced like picking a super, the way that 4 and kind of 5 do now. That's a double-edged sword. I've never been really a fan of that. I always thought that why would you not have just all your supers with you? I will say I don't mind the idea of having different types of health bars. That's personally, if I was going to do something about that, I would give all the characters all the supers that they have, but then I would have them pick their own bar, where, you know, if you can have a longer bar, but you can have more bars, whereas if you have a shorter bar, you have less of them. Maybe a longer bar you can get 3, whereas a smaller one you only get 1 or 2. Depends how you want to look at it. Ah, what? Oh, what the what? Coming off weird, man. Damn it. Obviously, I don't have any memories of this game in the arcades. My memories mostly come from the Dreamcast version, which I remember really wanting to try out, and I did finally get it. And I remember specifically being really, really like interested in this version in particular. Even Second Impact, I was like, okay, this is good, but it's not really doing as much for me. Oh, what? I'm not really trying here. Alright, you got me. So that's Street Fighter 3. Next one is going to be Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, which I do not have a whole lot of memories with, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time with it. Mostly my memories are just, oh, well, this is the other game in that Dreamcast collection, and this is pretty good too, but I just find the first one more interesting. Something that I was not aware of, though, was the original arcade version of this game actually had a widescreen mode, and that's what we're seeing here. This is the only game in this collection that's in widescreen. So that's how we're going to play it here. And it's got the same weird art style. Second Impact, Giant Attack. All the weird kind of pink artwork. I don't know. It's odd to me. I guess I'll use Akuma. I haven't used Akuma in any of these. Okay. So this came out the same year as Street Fighter 3 New Generation. And it was a means to fix the first game, which did not do well. Oh, that's right. Akuma's backdash sucks. That's right, Akuma has no EX moves. I forgot about that too. I am not that good with Akuma. Just do it again. Oh, he fell out of it. What a bitch. Oh, that hit him? It didn't look like it did. Let me see. What else can I say about this game? I don't really know that much about it. I played it on the Dreamcast. I thought it was good. It was fine. Never saw it in arcades. This was an attempt to fix Street Fighter 3. It didn't work. People still thought it was just really weird. It's not a bad game. I find it to be a mostly uninteresting update of the first one. The first one I find to be more interesting. Was this the game that introduced EX moves, or am I wrong? Don't remember. This game, it kind of retells the story of the first one, New Generation. It's sort of like a Street Fighter Alpha 2 deal. Can I not do it? What the... I want to do a demon. Oh, I have to be at max. Oh well. Whatever. I don't know what else to say about this game. We'll just move on to the last one, I guess. Okay, Third Strike. I'm sure a lot of people know about this game now. They definitely didn't before. But this was the final attempt to fix things, and they went all out and changed pretty much everything. More importantly, also, this is technically a sequel to the first 2-3 games. That sounds bad. It's a sequel to New Generation and Second Impact Giant Attack. Third Strike Fight for the Future. It comes afterwards. And I mean, what can you say? This game is fantastic. It is my second favorite of all the Street Fighters. The reason why it's not number one is because I personally feel that it's a bit esoteric for most people, and all that depth that's in this game is lost on a lot of people as a result. Comparatively, Alpha 3, which is my favorite one, I feel has almost as much complexity as this game. Not quite as much, but almost, while simultaneously being accessible. So I feel like it does more than this game does. It doesn't sacrifice complexity for, I guess I could say, accessibility. Got him. And what can I say? This game is it's a classic. I've played this game several times. My personal memories are playing the Dreamcast version. Again, I did not get this in arcades, but I got the Dreamcast version and played the shit out of that game. The only game I think I played more than this game was Soul Calibur 1. And I guess Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I don't know. It was close. Top 3 on the Dreamcast in terms of fighting games are Soul Calibur, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Third Strike. Absolutely. Although I will say also shoutouts to Fatal Fury, Mark of the Wolves, now known as Garou, Mark of the Wolves, and King of Fighters 99, which is underappreciated. King of Fighters 99 Evolution, to be specific, on Dreamcast. But anyway, that was dumb. Oh god, I dashed. Damn it. Freaking Makoto. Yeah, played the hell out of it there. Then I got the 15th anniversary collection, haha, on the PlayStation 2 and played a shit ton of Third Strike on there as well. Oh, I thought I got her. And then let's see what else. I desperately wanted to get it on the PS or on the Xbox 360, but I ended up getting it on the PS3. The online mode, which to be 12's name is misspelled. There's the online version of this game that's out on the Xbox 360 and PS3. I'm going to tell you something right up. That version of the game is better than this. That's still the best version. And the reason is because this, just like all the other ones, is a basic port of the arcade version. And the sound for this version is actually quite bad. If you think the game sounds bad, what you're hearing now, you are absolutely correct. It's because that's how the original arcade version sounded. It wasn't until later when they kind of like made the quality better, remixed it for the PlayStation 2 version, that it started sounding better. And that's what most people remember, I think. Parries. Stop that. Yeah, this game is a lot of fun. It's a classic. I think to kind of finish things off here, we're going to try some online Third Strike and then I'll call it. This is all I really want to do. I just wanted to give like a run through of all these games, talk about my memories of them and everything. I'll go more in depth when I start going through these games individually. But for now, this is fine. Let's get our ass handed to us. No! Oh, God. Or we could just do that. I guess we're freaking done then. Well, I showed you the game. I did what I wanted to do. So, thank you very much, anyone who may be watching in the future. I didn't see anyone in the chat, so I don't know if there was anyone here live. But if any of you were here, thank you for watching, even if you didn't say anything in the chat. Other than that, the next stream, which will be on Thursday, is going to be on Street Fighter V, continuing the Street Fighter theme. I just want to check out the survival mode and show it off real briefly. So Thursday's stream, especially as I get back into the swing of things with streaming and whatnot, It's going to be a short one. My guess is that it'll probably be like half an hour. I don't know. I just want to check out the survival mode and show it off a little bit. Other than that, that's just going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Peace and love, gamers and players. Colorwind out.